we'll finish, because there's some heat in that whole process of what Boaz and Ruth accomplished. I want to say something to the single women. And listen, every single woman ought to buy the book entitled The Boaz Factor. Write that down. You need the Boaz Factor. And I'm promoting this latest book. I don't know it, but it's an Elder Brenda Bradley. And every single woman needs the Boaz Factor. Let me give you something right here, because Boaz took Ruth and she became his wife. This woman in the Boaz Factor deals with this thing between want versus choice. And she says she had dealt with relationships, or rather non-relationships that she thought was a relationship. She said, I know it sounds confusing, but let me explain. She said, I've been through almost every phase imaginable for a relationship to go through, and yet it was a non-relationship relationship. All right? And so she started talking about this thing, and she couldn't justify why even put up with those kind of relationships. And they would go out. Maybe you see yourself here sometimes, ladies. They would go out, and she would think, we're together. Well, not really. She'd try to explain. You see, there was something there, but it couldn't be described. We just knew that it was real and that it took precedence over anything or anyone else because we meant so much to each other. We were friends, but so much more than that. We were soulmates who couldn't seem to commit to a relationship. I'm trying to help the single ladies. The feelings were so deep, yet it was not enough to join our lives together. It was magnetic when we were in the same room, but not right for the time being. It didn't need to be talked about or identified all the time because we were too mature for that. We knew it was forever because it will never be over until we finally got together, which leaves the huge question in the atmosphere of when will that be? Do these mixed emotions sound familiar? If so, you're simply in a non-relationship relationship, a relationship without commitment. Although it seems to be everything at the time, something that you can build your life on, these kinds of relationships will only amount to insanity. Am I talking to anybody? I know I didn't miss the signs, you say to yourself. He said this to me and he said that to me and all. And surely he's going to ask me to be his girlfriend soon. You rehearse what he said 1,000 times in your head, and then doubt begins to sink in. You ask yourself why you spend a significant part of your time with him when it will only end in confusion. Men who are willing to take what they want from you without claiming you as theirs are not interested in a long-term relationship. Another way you can recognize one of these relationships is to consider how you ended it. Did you angrily attempt to cut him out of your schedule, delete his number from your phone, and remove him from your Facebook friend list so you never have heard from him or rejection again? Did you turn off your emotions around him and pretend to have platonic feelings? If your answer to these questions is yes, then you are in a non-relationship relationship. Now that you have determined what type of relationship you have, it's time to face the fact that you have emotions for him that you need to deal with. Otherwise, when he does something decent, you're going to find yourself wondering once again if he is the one for you. You see, you got to understand, you were the type of girl that he wished he could love, but knew that he was made for somebody else. You were on his want list. You were never his choice. She said, and then I prayed, Lord, make it clear to me which guy will choose me so I won't become attached to guys who will just leave me. And she said the Lord answered her prayer. And so she deals with this thing about the want list. Being someone a guy wants and someone a guy chooses are completely different. Do we have time to talk to the singles? We have always assumed that one naturally follows the other. This simply is not so. Start a list in your head right now of the things you want. All right? Now, you make those lists. She said, if I got everything on my want list now, that would be great. However, the reality is that until I make choices to have them, they will remain on my want list. The opposite sex is not much different in how they attain an outcome, except that they tend to be a little more decisive. They don't agonize over decisions like women do. Once a man has made up his mind about something, it is like a steel trap door, and that has just shut. Now, the foundation of the want list is this: there is nothing life-altering, life-changing, or permanent that he has to do to want you. Nothing has to change in his life. A guy who wants you can and does live moment by moment when he makes decisions concerning you. Are you listening? Once we understand that, she said, we must get the true meaning of want. It is the core of this non-relationship relationship. It is not the desirous thing to be on a want list when you love someone. This particular want is equal to options. He sees you as one of many options that he has. If he wanted to sleep with you, he could. If he does not want to call you for a while, he won't. If he chooses to come by, he will. If he chooses just to call for a minute, that is fine too. He has options. When the moment comes to choose one of his options, he lives it to the fullest. Therefore, when he kisses you, it's real. When he holds you, it's real. When he calls and keeps you on the phone for an hour, it's real. None of these options, however, require his life to change. Now let's look at the choice list. Give me just a minute. Here are the signs that a guy chooses to be in a relationship with you and is ready to make some permanent life-altering decisions. When he chooses you, he is ready to X out every other woman in his mind and concentrate on you, life-altering. When you are chosen, he is emotionally making a decision to give you his heart. When he chooses you, he will rearrange his life to include you in it on purpose. That's life-changing. When you are chosen, his day is not complete without you in it. When you are the choice, he begins to talk about the future, investments, his money, your career, and your plans. When he chooses you, he is ready for you to X out every man who thought he had a chance. He sends a message to everyone called a ring. He doesn't make a big move without your knowledge. When he gives you his name, it's permanent. Now here's the mistake. Because women, sometimes you're on the want list and you think it's the choice list. This is where you mess up. This is where you mess up. When you have not been chosen and you start to behave as though you have been. This makes you make life-changing decisions towards somebody who is living only for the moment with you. God Almighty. That's how you end up in a pickle. While he is still in the want mode, you start behaving as though you are the choice. You already act like the relationship is permanent, while the guy is temporarily hanging out. You go out on one date, and it is the baby naming ceremony. If he calls back the next day, you are looking to the future already. This is how you end up in a false friendship. You need to understand that a date needs to be a date. Go to eat dinner and see a movie, enjoy yourself. At the end of the date, get out of the car, go into your house alone. If he calls you back tomorrow, have a conversation. If he doesn't call you back tomorrow, you got a dinner and a movie out of the whole deal. Move on. Don't invest your emotions and your dreams where they won't be valued or treasured. And too many women make the mistake to start acting like they were the choice when they're really on the want list. It doesn't say anything about you. If you're on the want list, you just need to know what list you're on, because Boaz, he didn't put her on the want list. He put her on the choice list, and he started moving things to make it happen. Boys, keep your hands off of her. She's mine. Give her a little extra barley. She's mine. Let me go talk to the other kinsman redeemer to see if he wants to take her, because if he doesn't, she's mine. He started making life-changing, life-altering decisions because Ruth was the choice and not just on the want list. And I wish we could get some of our sisters delivered off a want list, because just because you went out, you start thinking that that's our future. You start seeing furniture in the house. You start seeing what kind of car you're going to drive with him, and you start getting your hopes up only to be dropped because you were only a want. Everybody standing.